Fox Business Alert, Iranian-backed militia group Hezbollah saying today it has targeted Israel's Iron Dome with a guided missile. Now, Israel has yet to confirm or comment on whether the Lebanese paramilitary's missile penetrated the air defense system, but the attack comes at the same time that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns he is prepared for, quote, intense action at the Lebanese border. Today, Netanyahu visited the northern Israeli town of Kiryat Shmona, a flashpoint for massive fires that burned across the region this week, sparked in part by Hezbollah rockets and drones. Israel has been considering launching war against the group, with the chief of the Israeli Defense Forces warning this week that the country is nearing a decision. As the conflict in the north intensifies, Israel continues its offensive into Gaza. Here to comment is the man who once sat in Netanyahu's chair, Naftali Bennett, who served as Israel's prime minister from 2021 to 2022. Prime Minister, what can you tell us about this claim that they've hit the Iron Dome?
Well, we've heard that they've targeted the Iron Dome. We'll know soon whether there was a hit or not. It's not that surprising that they would try and target that. What's going on right now is a totally unsolicited conflict between us and Hezbollah. We, as you know, we're at war with Hamas. Hezbollah, because it's being operated by Iran, so they want to sort of exhaust us. They're trying to hit us from all directions. We're not seeking war, but if necessary, and if we'll be pulled into it, we will fight and we will win.
Can Israel handle that at two fronts? I want to let our viewers know you were an Israeli commando in a very elite unit. You have served in Lebanon. You know the territory. Two wars at once, a very small country. Can Israel do it?
Yes, we can. It's not something that we want. We don't want war at all, right? As you suggested, I fought in many wars. It's a horrible thing, war. And my best friend died in war. I fought in the Second Lebanon War. I know Hezbollah. We can defeat them. But I think it would be wrong for them to go down this path. I want to point out another thing. Hezbollah is part and parcel of the Lebanese government, of the Lebanese state, of Lebanon. So there will be no distinction between Hezbollah and Lebanon, meaning if Hezbollah starts war with Israel, it's a war between Israel and the state of Lebanon, with all the repercussions.
Even though the Lebanese government is not run by Hezbollah.
They're the puppets of Hezbollah. Hezbollah and Nasrallah, the commander of Hezbollah, they need to know very clearly. They will not be able to hide behind a facade that we're not Lebanon. They are Lebanon. And if they start a war, they will be bringing upon themselves the destruction of the state of Lebanon. And since they claim to be the defenders of Lebanon, that would be a huge mistake from their side.
Yeah, I believe that is exactly what Prime Minister Netanyahu said. Big mistake. Big mistake.
Look, you know, last time around in 2006, I fought in the Lebanon War. Nasrallah, after the war, said, had he known what Israel's response will be, he would not have started the war. Well, so he should learn his own lesson, because if he does it this time, destruction will be immense.
Let's go back to Gaza and the situation there. Today, Israel released some pretty intense video. They were able to target and implode a huge underground tunnel that was in Rafah, but we're still waiting on a hostage release, and that probably most likely will have to come with a prisoner, a Palestinian prisoner exchange. It's unbelievable that we still have so many hostages there. I mean, 4, including a peace activist named Chaim Perry, were killed. This guy was 79 years old. He used to ferry Palestinian children who were sick in Gaza to Israeli hospitals for medical care and then bring them back. These are the people that Hamas is killing. But there are 5 Americans there, too. What's it going to take to get them out?
First of all, it's unbelievable, the savagery and barbarism of Hamas, raping women as a weapon of war. This is from the Middle Ages. This should not be happening in the year 2024. I believe the only way to release our hostages is if Sinwar, the commander of Hamas, knows that his hours are over. And he understands that we're coming in full force to defeat him. Here, I would suggest both to the Israeli government and the Biden administration, I think both governments are not going about this the right way. We should go much quicker, much faster, with much more force, and win. When they feel that tanks are coming to defeat them, that's when there will be a deal of a hostage release. Unless that happens, I don't believe Yahya Sinwar will release all these hostages. I think he's got 120 hostages. He's not going to give them away. He's a cynical, evil man, and the only way is to effect pain on him.
Former Prime Minister of Israel, Naftali Bennett, we thank you very much for coming to speak to our viewers.
Thank you. I want to thank you and the American people for standing behind Israel.
You know, most of them agree with Israel.
Yeah, usually they're not the loudest,
right,
but they do.
It is a small, loud, vocal group that gets the attention, but huge percentage of Americans say stand with Israel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.